Hello parents, and welcome to the Joseph Gibson Early Learning Center. My name is Karima Joseph Gibson, and today we are going to be talking about phonological and phonemic awareness and how it relates to literacy development in young children. In other words, we will be discussing the important concepts necessary for our children to learn how to read competently. If children have a strong start, they'll be able to confidently progress into children who aren't just learning to read, but reading to learn. This transition usually happens by the 3rd grade. However, we can start their journey as early as toddlers. So the question becomes, how does your child benefit from developing early learning skills with phonemic and phonological awareness? To answer that question, we really need another question asked, and that is, what are they? What are phonemic awareness and phonological awareness? Phonemic awareness is the understanding that spoken words are made up of separate sounds or phonemes, and phonological awareness includes the recognition of word boundaries, stress patterns, syllables, onset rhyme units, and phonemes in the speech sound system. In phonemic awareness, the basis of literacy in a child's capacity for learning to read is founded in their ability to distinguish between and enunciate a variety of sounds within words. For a child to be able to read, they need to first understand the correct word pronunciation. Now, there are 3 main skills that they need to master to have essentially grasped what phonemic awareness is, and that is listening, rhyming, and segmentation. Phonological awareness, however, requires children to demonstrate basic knowledge of one-to-one letter sounds, long and short sounds, and really distinguish between similarly spelled words by sound. Their reading skills are directly affected because knowledge of corresponding letter and vowel sounds allow children to recognize or connect letters to sounds, which then allows them to recognize words through familiar pronunciations. Phonological awareness focuses on the sounds of written words and their spelling, thus reading is a natural progression when a child's phonemic and phonics skills are combined. So phonological awareness and phonemic awareness definitely relate to the literacy development in young children because reading requires phonological awareness since written words match to spoken words. And in order to transition from a printed word to a spoken word, readers must be aware of the spoken sounds that letters and letter combinations represent, which is also phonemic awareness, or the ability to distinguish between speech sounds. And that enables us to learn languages quickly, and this oral language knowledge is crucial to our comprehension of what we read. There are really 6 skills in addition to phonological awareness that are required in early literacy skills, and that's listening, print concepts, speaking, letter naming, comprehension, and vocabulary. Listening comprehension aids in a child's ability to understand speech and learn sentence structures. These skills develop early in childhood, around the age of 1, and continues to improve throughout elementary school. Remember, children with advanced listening comprehension prior to kindergarten are about a year ahead of their average peers, while those with delays are about a year behind. An awesome group activity that we can create to assist children with their listening skills is called Listen and Act. And it's just where the children act out the story that the teacher has been reading to them. For example, you can ask one child to be the rabbit in the book and hop like a rabbit, or you can ask one person to pretend to be another animal. So it just depends on what you've been reading to the children and how attentive they are, and it allows them to use those listening skills. Print concepts really give children meaningful interactions with print and helps to make a smooth transition into literacy. Simple tasks such as reading cereal boxes or even parents and teachers reading to children help to teach book concepts such as author and title and left to right sequence of reading and writing. You can have a small group activity that's called Let's Order, which means you can set up a restaurant and have the children order from a menu that you've created that has large pictures as well as the names of simple foods that they'll be able to recognize. They'll be able to order these items and pretend like they can actually eat at a restaurant. So it's just a fun way to engage the children in an activity that allows them to use those print concepts. With speaking skills, students benefit from a language environment that encourages them to practice grammatical comprehension and the use of complex and complicated sentences, which they will need to read in the future. The ability to absorb speech, build a vocabulary, and break down words and phrases into sentence patterns are all examples of oral language abilities. And with our small group activity Act and Chat, they'll be able to use those skills because they can form a circle, and one child in the center of the circle can act out any picture that they're pulling from a box to get the children to go ahead and guess what animal that child is pretending to be. Just a way for them to actually become verbal and allow them to use those oral language skills. With our letter naming skills, the ability to recognize the letters of the alphabet is a strong predictor of reading success in the short and long term. Memorizing letter name aids in the retention of sounds linked with the letters. That elevated levels of letter knowledge are linked to children's ability to recognize and use phonemes. And letter knowledge is essential for phonological awareness development and therefore essential to reading. A great activity that you can use is where you have I Spy Letters. You create a fun picture for the children to view and hide a letter somewhere in that scenery and give the children magnifying glasses and markers to find and circle the letter. It's very engaging and it can be scaled to our exceptional children, which allows those who are already reading to have a good time, as well as those who aren't quite there yet to still have a way to find a letter within a picture. Knowing the oral, spoken, and written words is critical for developing early literacy abilities. Knowing how to comprehend the who, when, where, what, and why of narrative stories, as well as how to employ literary sources to make inferences, forecast, evaluate, and solve problems are all examples of comprehension. Mind movies is one of my favorite small group activities, and it allows children to recall a familiar story in their minds, and you encourage them to close their eyes and use their 5 senses to describe the different parts of a story. Tell them to taste, smell, touch, feel, hear, see, and listen for all the different parts of different actions in the stories that they have come to know and love. And finally, vocabulary. It's the process of learning new words and actively employing them in spoken and written communication. It's crucial in steps to literacy because it expands a child's oral and written literacy skills. According to several studies, there is little explicit purposeful vocabulary instruction in pre-kindergarten, kindergarten, and primary schools, but we are aiming to change that, especially with one of our small group activities called What's in the Box, where you simply place flashcards in a box and have children to take turns taking cards out of the box and have everyone repeat the revealed vocabulary word. Like if you pull out a dog or a cat, you would say cat, and you would place it in the center of the circle and allow everyone else to say the word cat. And repeat it every time someone pulls a different animal or word out of the box. This gets everybody used to new vocabulary and they're able to visually see a representation of what that new word is. Remember, parents, these are tips that you can also use at home. Practice your own version of the activities at home with your child. Feel free to use household items and some of the familiar stories and books that your child already knows and loves. And if you need more helpful tips, go to some helpful websites that I've listed here, which are readingrockets.org, coxcampus.org, and www.0to3.org. I've also listed a few references for some information if you would like to go ahead and do some more research on some other literacy skills and how they affect your child from birth to kindergarten. Here are a few references you can use. If you have any other questions, please feel free to give us a contact or a shout out. Go ahead and talk to your teacher, and I'm sure they'll be there to assist you with making sure that your child is successful in their future literary endeavors.